I've made a bit of a career out of giving humanistic talks about Gene Rainbolt. I've known Gene since childhood days in Shawnee, Oklahoma, and I guess the most humanistic thing about Gene, I think, is unique. And I come to this from the Jewish concept called tzedakah, which is sometimes translated as charity, but is really righteousness. And in this concept, there are levels of charitable giving. And at the height of these levels of charitable giving, of philanthropy, is giving to someone to start a business or giving to someone to obtain an education. That's as good as it gets. And I don't imagine that the humanities could find anyone in Oklahoma that should be honored more based upon those categories.
Gene Rainbolt has an ethic of benevolence, kindness, and concern for all people, especially those in the state of Oklahoma. And this is evidenced by his devotion to economic development in Oklahoma and his concern for education at all levels in Oklahoma.
As we all are products of our environment, I was born in 1929, so I recall very vividly the Depression and the men who came to the back door of our home asking for food, and the children who lived in cardboard boxes and houses and had very little. So I think my entire life I've been aware of those who didn't have and yet had opportunity, or had ability if they could develop the opportunity. I see education as the lever that changes the opportunity in life. It might be a teacher, it might be a subject, but education as such is the lever that creates prosperity from poverty.
From refounding the Oklahoma Academy of State Goals, to founding the Oklahoma Symposium, to gifts of endowed chairs at numerous universities, to scholarship contributions, education and moving people into civic discourse have been deeply a part of Gene's philosophy and his philanthropy. Gene's son, David, told me that at a certain point in Gene's life he got a little bit bored with making money. And I'm not sure exactly when that was, but I'm really glad that it happened. I love the fact that he sort of got out of that. He still does some of it, and if you need some financial advice, he's about as good as it gets. But he is just interested in ideas.
Oklahoma Symposium was an idea that Robert Henry and Penny Williams and myself really witnessed the National Renaissance Program and thought that that was something that would have a similar organization in Oklahoma, with the intent of people being acquainted with each other from diverse backgrounds, diverse geography, diverse ideas, coming together, getting acquainted, and celebrating ideas. Perhaps an antidote for Friday night fever or Saturday afternoon madness.
Based on the kinds of interactions that I've had with Gene Rainbolt and the committees and that bit that I've been a part of, Gene Rainbolt has always been there, and everything he touches helps this whole state. Now, it might originate here in Oklahoma City, but eventually their tentacles reach out all over the state.
Well, I think that the bottom line of my life and the life of my generation is that we've not achieved what needs to be achieved. And the challenges still exist. The lack of opportunity still needs to be created, and there's much work left to be done.
One of my favorite public intellectuals is the late Robert Hutchins, president of the University of Chicago, and a big advocate with the late Mortimer Adler of the Great Books curriculum. And his introductory book to Great Books is entitled The Great Conversation. What the Oklahoma Humanities Council does is foster the great conversation. It's a conversation that occurs over the ages. It's a conversation in Western humanistic thought that never ends. It can be a battle between Hayek and John Maynard Keynes that we're seeing now. It can be philosophical battles. When you honor people like Wilma Mankiller, Scott Momaday, Charles Banks Wilson, Gene Rainbolt, you are featuring the local edition of that great conversation. No more important task exists in the society that we have now than to have noble, peaceful, bipartisan, thoughtful conversation.